Right.
How's it
Hey,
going?
gang.
We're back. We're Volume 4, Episode 16.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they tried to take us out last week, but
did.
we came back stronger.
Yeah.
So,
So here's our new co-host. I'm still here.
Yep.
The other person decided he had stuff to do and went on his own new journey. We wish him the best. And here we are with Mark and Elizabeth. So
hi.
They rustled
let's
us up.
introduce you and talk about you for a minute.
Well, go ahead, Elizabeth. Since-
Oh my! Well, they found me in a no. I'm Elizabeth Abbott. I do writing projects with Mark, and I'm also on the TV show with him that we're going to be doing soon, Eerie Travels. I pretty much stay at home, write and edit things, and appear every once in a while on TV. So.
And that works. That works. And I'm Mark Muncy. I'm the author of Eerie, Florida, Freaky Florida, Creepy Florida, and coming soon, Eerie Appalachia. Yeah, finally out of the
New book.
out of the state. Yeah, we're on contract for that. Working on that. That'll be out next fall.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we will be also working on a show here for the WeBeam TV called Eerie Travels.
Mm-hmm.
And we just, now that things are opening back up in the
Yes.
world, we'll
And I
be
think we're filming this weekend.
joining that.
probably.
Yeah, that is
We
the
are.
plan. That
Yes.
is the plan.
Hopefully.
And then in the meantime, we're here because I am a huge comic junkie. So we're going to be helping out with Comics 101 for a little while, as long as they'll have us.
So what's your favorite comic book?
Well, we did Howard the Duck, which was, when I guested on this a few weeks ago. That's probably my favorite series. Right now, my current favorite is The Goon. I am a huge Goon fan from Eric Powell. Anything Eric Powell does is magic. I'm also a huge Hellboy nerd. So make mine Dark Horse, I guess, or Albatross Press, And then Knights of the Dinner Table I've just been following for 30 some odd years. So they just had their anniversary, and I write for them occasionally too. So that's, I guess why I love them.
What about you?
Me? I'm a big Batman fan, so I've been following a lot of his storylines, but lately I've been doing more of the indie scene. So, silly things like Moonstruck, Beast of Burnham we talked about, I also really enjoy that. Gotten back into DC a little bit with the new Justice League Dark. So obsessed with that, really excited for the new series coming out. So, little odd things is what I usually like.
My two are Power Rangers, because I've been enjoying that whole new storyline with the Ninja Turtles. But my favorite, Spawn.
Spawn.
Yeah.
The Kickstarter.
Going on 30 years. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Kickstarter
that was a good
raised
one.
Spawny,
$3.4
he's our
million
man.
dollars
Yeah.
for their figures. Now I just gotta wait till November for them.
Yep.
I'll have to tell you some Todd McFarlane stories later.
Hopefully they'll be good. I don't want to get.
I think you'll be happy with him. So. No, he's super cool.
Mark knows everyone and everyone.
So if you want to ever be a guest on a show, if you want to be on the comic cosplay guest, you can email us at home@comicbook101tv.com, info@comicbook101tv.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at comicbook101tv. So let's go ahead and mention some show supporters. There's a new shop. I don't actually have the figures out this week. They were on Nerd Talk. Actually, this one right here, the Falcons from them. The Pop
Oh, yeah.
Shop on Facebook. It's Jeff and Holly Collectibles. So you can definitely go on there. They have some wonderful pops. I picked up autographed Jason David Frank the other week from them.
Oh yeah, that
Nice.
one's really cool
Yeah.
for your display.
So for
yeah.
your Power Rangers,
Yeah.
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Then Yancey Street Comics, right up the road from us. Get all our comic books from them. Coliseum of Comics in Orlando, Moshi over there. They're great people. And most importantly, Eerie, Florida.
Eerie, Florida, heck yeah. Imagine that. You should buy those books. Now that everything's open back up, the parks are opening back up, we got a lot of, they're like travel guides to the dark side of the Sunshine State. So,
They're good
enjoy.
books. I got 2 of them so far.
Yeah.
Well, I got 1 of them, then I got the Hellview Cemetery one.
Oh, that's a good, that was classic.
Those don't exist. No, they exist.
Those are from the haunted house days.
But we branched out too because this year we're doing Mothman, so we have a bunch of prints and like jewelry and things like that. So.
Yeah, definitely check out the website. We got
Yeah.
more than just books there. We got a lot of stuff. And you can hear some of the myths and legends while you're there. So,
It's awesome. Definitely check out those books. Now let's go ahead and do Cosplayer of the Week. If we still have that graphic, I don't know. I don't know if we have it.
Pilot show right now.
That's our pilot, so we're rebuilding
yeah,
everything.
rebranding, Volume 4.
Well, the internet got caught last week. So we had everything structured.
An hour from show.
Yes.
This whole show was supposed to be last week,
Yes.
originally on the 5th. Then we had Josh went on his own way, so we got pushed back a few days, and no internet last week. And
Which we
Yes.
talked about on Nerd Talk, yeah. So
crazy stuff. But
bear
anyway,
with us.
So cosplayer of the week.
Yes,
Who
who
is
is
it
it?
this
Tell
week?
us.
Bert the Stormtrooper, you can find him
Oh.
on Instagram, Twitter, and he actually has a YouTube channel called Hippie Trooper where he
Nice.
reviews a lot of toys and everything. I've known Bert for many years from the 501st. There's
Oh,
him and
that's
his
cute.
wife there. What got him to cosplay, he's been kind of doing it his whole life. He never outgrew Halloween. Every year he would go out in a Vader
there's
costume when
Guy
episode 2
Gardner
was
can't go wrong with
released.
that.
Him and his wife made Jedi costumes for the whole family. That's actually when I met him.
Wow,
on the
greatest
501st.
American hero. Wow, props for that one.
Oh, that's awesome.
For why do you like cosplay? It's a fun, creative way for him and his family to express ourselves, connect with like-minded individuals, and even support the community. His next favorite cosplay, he said, who knows? Thinking of new costumes, ideas depending on his surroundings and current weight. He's mentioned he's gained weight, lost weight a few times, so he's always planning
Sounds
new
awfully
outfits depending on that. Yesterday, him and his daughter were
that's awesome.
riding segways around the neighborhood to lose his current weight.
Understood.
But he said he was thinking about doing a hilarious Paul Blart mock-up on the Segway.
Nice.
Oh, that would be
That's a
fantastic.
classic. That's a
But Bert's
classic.
an awesome guy. When I met him, his kids were real small. They're grown up now. So it's always fun seeing a whole family cosplaying together.
I think you should just go old Thor, like in the new
Yeah,
movie,
you
like
go
the
Lebowski
dad
Thor?
buddy, like dad buddy
Lebowski.
Thor. I think that's what he should do.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
you go,
love
Bert.
yourself how you are.
should do that.
Exactly, should do that.
So,
So why are we doing Star Wars
Yes.
cosplayer of the week?
because last week was May the 4th.
Yes.
Be with you May the 5th.
Was Cinco de
Revenge of
Mayo,
the 5th.
and then Revenge of the
Revenge
6th.
of the-
So that's why we originally had a whole Star Wars thing planned.
Imagine that.
Decided just keep doing a whole Star Wars thing.
I just wear this
instead.
all the time anyway. My,
Where's that backpack?
That's my Chewbacca bundle. Oh yeah, my backpack that brought all the Star Wars sheets that we're sitting on. Those are my original Star Wars sheets and my original Empire Strikes Back sheets.
Daddy
Yes, I've
washed.
had them since when they came out. And then this is my wonderful laptop carrying Boba Fett backpack. The rocket does not fire, so this is after the prototype. So
So I actually got a couple gifts for y'all from 1994.
what is
Pizza
this?
Hut Star Wars cups.
Oh, the special edition. Fine. No, it's okay.
Yeah, nobody likes the special edition.
Oh yeah. No, there
It's
are
recyclable.
there are definitely awesome
No,
bits in the
yes.
special editions. I agree. So it just
That's the one
but
cool
there are
thing.
definitely a lot of things that did not need
Yeah.
to be in
Yeah.
there. So.
But that's the one cool thing about Star Wars, I think, in general, is like we laugh at your backpack or maybe even the sheets, but Star Wars has so much like merchandise and interesting things that they do a lot of the times. So like these, for example, like they're kept onto because it's a household legend now.
Star
Like,
Wars.
you know, it's Star Wars.
modern
like,
mythology. So that's
like
the
they
whole point.
say in How I Met Your Mother, people who haven't seen Star Wars were the people in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Lucas was probably one of the smartest people when he made the toys because
Yeah.
he kept the rights
Right.
to them.
Which
Yeah.
is that, but before then, nobody
brilliant.
cared.
Yeah,
No one
nobody cared
cared.
about the rights.
I
They
think
didn't
Planet of the Apes was the reason he did, was because Planet of the Apes had come out and had made huge with the Megos
Yeah.
and all that. So that was the first one. And I think that kind of planted the seed that he was like, oh, I could do so much with this. And I think that's where it started. So
That was a smart idea. So
Yeah.
what got you both into Star Wars?
you go first this time.
Well, I was OG. I was 6 to 7 when it came out, and my brother, who's 11 years older than me, is like, you have to come see this, and he dragged me to a drive-in, and we saw Star Wars. I had no idea what it was. Blew my mind. I remember being terrified of the interrogation droid and Darth Vader in that scene when there's that smash cut.
Yeah.
I'm like, what happened to the girl? What happened? You know, and then, and
That's
I
for life.
had nightmares about that for years.
Oh, wow.
But I do remember driving home after the movie, and my brother, we're driving on these old roads in Ohio, driving down up and down hills, and we had the lights. We were flashing lights like lasers, and it was probably the most unsafe thing in the world. I'm surprised we both survived. But But that was it. It was I was hooked, and yeah, that changed my world. And I had seen some of the other ones. Again, I was still maybe a little too young for Logan's Run when I saw it, but it built later and some other stuff like that. But that's how it goes. That's what got me in. So, and I've been there ever since. So even the missteps, I sat up for the Star Wars Holiday Special. And I didn't remember how traumatizing it was, so I saw it many years later.
I
do
seen
remember that awesome.
What, you haven't seen it?
No, I know
No.
it exists.
We'll force it at some point.
That's
but
fine. We have a
Even
list
that,
of things.
though, like I said, the cartoon was awesome, and at that point, I just absorbed it. I didn't know what it was, and then on to Empire and all that. So, it's funny. People were talking about the Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi controversy.
Yeah.
And I remember the same controversy when Empire came out. There were people did not like Empire. There were people, it's totally changed the tone of the original movie. It's terrible. It's destroyed everything. And it's so funny. Back then, we just didn't have the internet. But I remember people having those conversations. So at least we did in school. So what got you into it, Elizabeth?
Me? Well, when I grew up, my dad would always have Star Trek. Yes, I know it's different. But he would always have Star Trek on. So I always grew up when I was like in elementary school with like sci-fi in the house. And then I remember one day coming home and my dad, he had worked several jobs, but like by the time I got out of school, he was done with his morning shift. And so he was watching like Star Wars and he's like, I've never showed you this, have I? And I'm like, I'm little. I'm like, no, I don't know, maybe sure. So we watched it, and I was young. I don't remember. But the third one came out. Which one was the...
Return of the Jedi?
The Return of the Jedi. So, not the prequel. It was like the real third one. And we went and we saw it in theater. And that, for me, was when it really stuck. Because I think for Star Wars, like, seeing it in the theater is where it really counts. I mean, yes, you want to watch it again and again and again at home. Right? I do that all the time. But in theater, it's like when the Millennium Falcon goes, or when they're doing a big space battle and you have like that big giant screen and you have like the surround sound, and also the fans that were there at the time. It was like my first experience going to a movie, and I was still young, but going to a movie where like the fans were just into, like they were like totally into it. So you had people cheering and clapping and going, oh no, and you're like, they're all expressive, and I'm little, I'm like, you could do this in like a public place in a movie theater? This is amazing. And that's what really got me into it, because it was like such an experience. So.
All right, Michael.
For me, Return Jedi, I remember with my stepfather going to the movies, actually seeing it, watching it as a little kid. It was just amazing. Then we went to Toys R Us afterwards, and he bought me a ton of the Star Wars figures. And I wish I still had those.
Oh, well, and it's funny, with May the 4th day and everybody doing their Zoom meetings at the day jobs now, I had fun pulling out the some of my old stuff that I still had around. I have my original 79 mail-away Boba Fett. I don't have the gun, and it isn't the rocket firing one, the prototype or anything. This is one of just the OGs. I remember freaking people out with that on the Zoom just the other day. So that was kind of fun. But I think that's my only original that I still have. I sold mine off to pay my rent in college.
I still have, I have one. I still have Chewbacca.
That's good.
Of
I
course.
still have my Chewbacca.
That's good.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yes, of course.
well, nothing
That's
wrong
good.
with that.
It's better than Jar Jar.
That's good point. Good point. Hey, I was a Boss Nass fan just because it was Brian Blessed. So
Oh, yeah.
I was so ahead before the movie came out. I was like, Brian Blessed's gonna be in a Star Wars movie. That's Voltan from Flash Gordon.
You're like,
He's
sold.
my
I don't even
hero.
care.
I don't care. I bought every Boss Nass thing before the movie came out. I'm like, but at least he got to do his or something at one point. And I was like, okay, that's Brian Blessed.
They hire him just for the voices and the
Oh yeah, that
I
was
think,
great.
yeah.
But
So why do you love Star Wars?
I want to say I originally loved Star Wars because of the fans. And then it was, as with everything, like you mentioned, there's controversies, people, and I get that. They don't want to, they're upset that things don't stay the same, which I can understand. I've definitely raged at Star Wars and other things where I'm like, no, you got to stick to the. But
Things can never stay the same because the original
Yes.
trilogy was made for the people back then.
Exactly.
Then when they made the next set, it was
Yes.
for the generation then.
And they're making Star Wars now, not for us, unfortunately, but for
for
the
the
kids that,
newer
that's why they
generation.
built a whole like theme park and stuff, which I love. I'm a big fan of it. But I think what I really love is the characters. Not every single character obviously gets developed the way you want it to, especially as an editor or writer. You're like, oh, you could have done the thing. But the characters are always so memorable. The things that they say are memorable. They turn into, again, household names or household sayings. And I know there's so many people that'll use, like, I'm your father, something like that. They don't even really even know where that comes from. Well, hopefully they do, but you know what I mean. But I think that's what I like the most about them, is because any merchandise or whatever, you're like, well, that's my favorite character, and I want to buy that no matter what. And that's just, it's like that creativity is what I love. And even if they bring out a new character that, like you said, Jar Jar or, Rose, I know people weren't really happy with Rose,
awesome.
but they are still people. They didn't develop her correctly. So I don't really even blame it on the actors or anything like that. It's just like, I always get excited because, to be fair, in my opinion, they usually develop these characters better in the comics or in like their animated shows. Like Rebels was great for Darth Maul, my favorite. So, it's all about that for me.
Definitely having fun with the...
There's image there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, geez.
The memes, yes, exactly. That's my point right there. Like, people see them and they're like, oh, that's so-and-so.
And it's funny because you pointed out and then immediately you're like, oh, yeah, that guy. And that
I forgot he was in it.
Yeah, that's a Star Wars character.
I haven't memorized every single character. I'll just say that.
That's good. Yeah.
I know my Sith and my bad guys. I know
Nothing
them.
wrong with that. See, there's a love right there. You've got, there's that whole philosophy. And I think that's kind of, for me, my love for it is the philosophical and the hero building, the world building and the hero's journey. You could tell the cultural implications Lucas was trying to do in the original trilogy.
That's a good point.
And then it's just built. Each trilogy's mimicked the other ones. Even the prequels, I know they get a lot of grief, and I'll admit I'm one of them who was not 100% happy with them. But even now, looking back at them, I see some of the world building and a lot of the parallels to the Roman Empire as a historian. As I learned to grasp history as I got older, I was like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing here, and it's and the parallels. And it isn't just Master Qui-Gon, what's a midichlorian? I can get past the terrible dialogue, and all that, and get into the actual world building and stuff. And so that's that feeling you get with Star Wars, and I think that's what gets me. It's like when I walk in and then I hear just a bit of the music somewhere, somebody's playing in a room. I think the second album I ever bought was the Star Wars soundtrack. So with my own money from acting. But I think I was 8. That was... it's been a part of me the whole life. So I'd say the music and the way everything makes you feel with Star Wars. And I think also in the 80s, I was world traveling and I went to Romania, communist Romania, late 80s. And even there, if I couldn't talk to anybody about anything, I could say Boba Fett.
And people
Or R2D2.
And they would know,
people go, oh, R2D2, and we could talk about Star Wars the rest of the night. So
Like, I don't know where the bathroom is.
I don't know,
But I mean, this guy likes R2D2, so we're friends.
So for me, it started lightsabers as a kid. That's why I loved
good
it.
stuff.
Space battles and everything. But when I grew older, like you were saying about all the hidden meanings behind it, I joined the 501st. And that got me deeper into love with Star Wars because I went to Star Wars Celebration the first time they came to Orlando. And it was just amazing meeting people that were from Japan, from Germany, all over the world there. You don't know them, they don't know you, but we all have the same thing in common. We all love Star Wars. And I got to meet so many awesome people, become friends with them, all because of this movie. So that's the main reason I love it. So what do you love more with Star Wars? The movies, comics, toys, cartoons?
Your girl loves
What's
to
your favorite
collect.
thing?
I love to collect.
Who do you love to collect? Is there a certain person, or is it?
Sith and Kylo Ren? Like, yes. So Darth Maul is my personal favorite. So honestly, I was like you with the bride blessing guy. I didn't even know that was him, honestly. I didn't know he was a thing. Anything Darth Maul, I'm like, yes. But I actually I really like the offshoots that they do. I like their cartoons. I like Rebels. I think that was great. I mean, yes, I mentioned it before because they really developed Darth Maul. I was like,
Clone Wars cartoon.
yeah, the Clone Wars. Yeah, I obviously love the movies, but then I like when they're like, oh, well, here's like a little thing. We're gonna do this in the show, and we're gonna like tell you a side thing. Like I know they did with the clones. Rex, I believe his name is, right?
Yeah.
like they made him like such a more important character, and you went into like the clone's backstory, and for me that was really interesting because again, character development. I'm like, oh, it's not just like a guy that's like in a suit anymore to me. Even like they did it with Finn. I mean, they had Finn do a different role, but he wasn't just a guy in a suit that rebelled. He became a person. You know, he became like an individual, and so I have to say like the cartoons and the offshoots. That's like my favorite little thing because I get to explore those characters more. And so comics, I guess, technically would go into that too, because the Darth Vader one and the Darth Maul one did a good job. And I know there's other comics that they did, but that's all I cared about.
For me, it would be the toys, because I love all the toys, the lightsabers, because I know at the house, all of us at the house have a lightsaber. And we go out front and lightsaber duel all the time. It's just big nerds having fun.
Nothing wrong
That's
with
why I like
that.
to collect
Nothing
the
wrong with
helmets and everything. Like we have several different helmets on set.
Oh yeah. I just noticed that. I was like, oh.
Yeah, Rob, get out here and move the cameras on. No, I'm just kidding.
So for me, it's always been collecting the toys and everything. That's my favorite.
That's good. Now, for me, the movies, of course, was what started it, of course. The music. I love the soundtracks. I can listen to any of the soundtracks anytime. John Williams is just a master. And even the ones he didn't do, some of the offshoots, like the solo soundtrack is incredible. Even though the movie wasn't that great, the soundtrack's good. And then but Rogue One, oh my gosh, that is a powerful
That's my
soundtrack.
favorite.
But I got to say, the books definitely, brought it back when there was no movies. When Tim Zahn brought out the Thrawn trilogy, the first one.
So good.
Incredible. And it's so good. That's why when Star Wars came back and they cut all the books don't count no more and all that. They're like, we need some villains because the new villains aren't doing too well. They kind of suck. Let's go. Hey, Tim, remember that guy Thrawn you made? Could you bring him back? And I talked to Tim Zahn about it, and it was that was like what changed his life was because they added stuff from his books into the prequel trilogy, like Coruscant.
Yeah, because that was interesting. They still took things. They weren't canon anymore. They're legends, but they still took things. Like even with the Rebels thing with Darth Maul, they still took things from the book, and and
that's just it. So that's so my love was the books, and then I think when Knights of the Old Republic came out for the computer and the Xbox,
that's great.
That I think was the best experience since the original film trilogy. I think to this day, Knights of the Republic 1 and 2 are still two of the best Star Wars experiences I ever had.
Yeah.
So.
For game-wise, mine would be Star Wars Galaxies, the first MMO.
Galaxies was fun.
That was so much fun. Before they added the lightsabers and where you could become a Jedi.
I had just such a terrible time with it. My first character, I made a guy named Manuel Bothans. So he was going to die saving the Death Star. Getting the Death Star plates. Manny Bothans died. I always had that joke. It was a joke character.
You're horrible.
And then I was on Coruscant. And the first thing I'm running out, I'm like, I'm ready to make my epic Star Wars journey with this character. And I run out, and I get killed by a diseased Corellian butterfly. Wasn't even a healthy butterfly. It was sickly and diseased. And he killed poor Manny Bothans. And I'm like, how is this guy ever going to have an epic adventure now? He's never going to be a spy. He got killed by a freaking butterfly. So, because at that point, MMOs still really hadn't decided that story should be king.
How was rage quitting for you? And that did you just throw the mouse? You just threw the keyboard?
I did. That was the time I walked away from Galaxies for like 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
I went back to City of Heroes. It was more fun.
Oh, see, I got hooked where I had to buy a second account so I could have 2 players on the same thing. Because you couldn't have, not like MMOs now where you can have 10 characters on a server. You could only have 1. So I had 2 accounts. I had Zybella, then I had his sister, Leilani, I created.
Nice.
And
I think when the BioWare one came out, when they did their Old Republic MMO, I played the heck out of that for the first year until I maxed all the storylines, and that's because that's all I wanted. I didn't want it to be an MMO.
Yeah.
I still think they screwed up with that. Instead of making it one big MMO, if they had made it as 5 different single-player games, 6 with the different classes, you could buy $20, $20, $20. I think more people would have bought. They would have just bought Bounty Hunter, just bought this, and then
that makes
somebody
sense.
been like, oh, wait, you should play that Imperial Agent. Oh, I'll go back and buy that. Or you could have bought them as DLCs instead of the MMOs.
Basically make them like The Sims, like, oh, let's buy the DLC.
Instead of a MMO, which I think everybody was trying to make Warcraft money at the time. It was
everybody's trying to kill Warcraft, and that ain't going to happen. You mentioned about Star Wars, the old stuff in the books non-canon.
Right.
And now in Mandalorians 2, we have Boba the Fett coming up.
Boba Fett coming back. Yeah. And so is it canon or is it not?
That's the thing,
So-
because they took away all that, so he's dead, technically.
Well, there's wait. The comics brought him back one way. The Tales of Jabba's Palace brought him back another way. That was Kevin J. Anderson edited. So Kevin, if you're watching, thank you for doing that. And then they did a whole follow up with that with Tales of the Bounty Hunters because that was huge. Or I may have had those backwards. Bounty Hunters was
Tale
first.
of Boba Fett was written by Daniel Keyes.
Daniel Keyes, but it was in
yeah.
Anderson's anthology. And that was pretty darn cool. And I brought him back. It made him badass. And he goes back to the pit and burns the Sarlacc and all that. He was just so because he gets out himself and all that. So that was kind of cool. It was reinventing the character, and that made it so they could use him in the books again. And that was pretty cool. He showed up in Rogue Squadron a couple times. He had his own books, a few. But then he was also in the comics again around that same time. And Dark Horse had a completely different way of bringing him back, if I recall. And I'm trying to remember what it was.
how they did it.
But it was another way where I think he got rescued in that one. But all I know is he's back in Robot Chicken, so that's good too.
So Star Wars comics, Star Wars, a comic book series published by Marvel on April 12th, 1977 through May 27th, 1986, featuring the classic characters Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, R2, C-3PO. The first 6 issues adapted the 1977 films. The series chronicled their adventures in 107 issues, 3 annual issues, including 6 issues adaptation of the Return of Empire Strikes Back in 80 and 81.
Yep.
So Lucas wanted to do the comics apparently first, and DC Comics said no. They didn't want to do them. He went to Stan Lee, and Stan's like, not until the movie comes out, because they didn't even trust it being good.
It was so ahead of its time. It was such a crazy idea for a movie and such.
Nobody thought like a space opera would be a good comic book.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because they're all thinking 2001, and they had done comic book adaptations of 2001 and Logan's Run, and they hadn't done very well. So
Yeah.
they're like, no, this is nothing.
So it wasn't until Roy Thomas in '76 talked to Lucas, and then he talked to Stan Lee, and he agreed, let's go ahead and do it, all because of one certain person being in the movie. Do you remember who that is?
That was Alec Guinness.
Yes. Because he's in the movies, they decided, let's go ahead and do it.
Don't seem to recall owning any.
Yeah, I think we have some photos of that. I can pull those up.
Oh yeah, there's
Of
the
the
classics.
original ones.
Yep, I had them.
So
Everybody
this was
had them.
the beginning of it?
Yes.
This
Right?
was the first
Okay.
issue.
Yeah.
They adapted the movie. There were some crazy shots in it. Like Luke and Vader never had that sword fight.
Yeah.
But that was, again, some of this was from the original Ralph McQuarrie drawings. So they had it was kind of a loose adaptation, and then they got better as it went along because then they actually got this, work
Because I
on it,
know
so.
they did comics right based off the movies, but didn't Lucas have a lot of other things that he wrote about that didn't make it? I know there was books, I
Like
understand
the
that,
There's
but
my
in the beginning
boy.
and things like that, yeah.
There's my boy, the eight to say against the world. That was their Magnificent Seven with Wonderful Jackson there.
Well, they
on
put
the
him
right.
in it, and then they took him out, but now he's technically canon again, right?
Was it- that's the
Actually,
joke.
let's go ahead and
to
talk about
Jackson.
that
now.
It's like we were going to talk about him.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what we do in Comic
Rob's
Book
just that
101.
quick. He just pulls that up.
That's what
So
we
here
do.
we
We
go.
teach people. It's Comic Book 101.
Yep,
Teach
so,
me.
So
Jackson's not a rabbit. We know that.
no, he's not.
Technically.
He is a what is it? A lupine or what is it? What do they call it? I can't remember. But he's technically not a rabbit. But they make a lot of rabbit jokes, and the
It's spelled L-E-P-I.
L-E-P-I, Leppy, that's right. Lepine.
So he's
And
basically like Rocket the Raccoon.
He's
just
basically
not-
Rocket Raccoon
Okay.
as a rabbit. He's badass.
Okay.
He jokes about being a better pilot than Solo. He jokes about being a better gunner than Solo. Trying to remember the name of his ship was like the Carrot Juice or something like that. I can't remember. It's all rabbit, but he's not a rabbit, but it's all rabbit puns. And he was a joke character because he's the first thing that comes out in the comics that people are like, wait a second, that doesn't look like anything regular Star Wars. What? It looks like he's walked out of a Bugs Bunny cartoon, and so he disappears very quickly. They make some references to him, and they drop him out of canon as quickly as they can. But the comics guys latched onto him because he's such an obscure
Like
and weird
that
character.
comic book right
so
there.
when they start bringing it back, Marvel brings it back and is making canon again. You know, there's the artists were like, I can't wait to write Jackson in, and all the writers like, I can't wait to put Jackson in. This is going to be amazing. And so that was the joke. Was one of the variant covers was Jackson trying to get himself back into the universe.
And everybody's like,
And everybody's like,
stay
no,
away.
no. And then, so, it went on, is he or isn't he canon? Is he or isn't he? And then finally, the new animated Star Wars Adventures comes out, and those are canon.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
They're walking down, and it's when Leia is getting her, I think it's called A Bounty of a Tale or something like that. And Leia is with Chewie and Maz, because they had to put Maz in everything.
Oh, yeah, I think you showed
And
me
she's
this.
trying to find her, her way to get Han out of trouble. And she's like, well, there's your entrance, and it's the bounty hunter costume that Leia gets. It's still on the bounty hunter, so she's got to take him out. But as they walk down, Jackson is standing over on a side thing. So he's there.
He does the Howard the Duck.
He does the Howard the
essentially.
Duck. He's in the universe now.
Yeah.
He makes his cameo.
Okay.
So now he is technically canon
Yeah.
again. So much to some
So
people's
will we
chagrin.
ever see him in a movie or a show?
That is the
would be cool.
question. That is the question. But if you ever want to read that initial series, I think it was issues 7 and 8, I think. It was right after they ended the comics adaptation. They did this 2-story arc where it's Han and he recruits the Magnificent Seven to save a village from annihilation from some raiders, and not Tusken Raiders, but it was.
Yeah.
And, because they were trying to expand the universe a little bit. It was the first time we'd actually seen some expanded universe content.
Is he in that variant comic, or is he? They
No,
were just like doing
on
it
the
for
cover.
fun.
He's
Okay.
on a bunch of different covers. I think they've put him in a couple issues since. I know
Okay.
Dark Horse he was in a couple. So he's been in a few, but it's just a fun character.
So he'll basically be an Easter egg, because that's what they do it in Rogue One with
Yeah.
Rebels. Like they had, I think it was the Rebel ship that they put in from the TV series, and they also had, what's his name? The droid, I believe, right? What?
So Rob just goes, so does that make him an Easter egg bunny?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, it does, Rob. Thank
Love
you so
it,
much.
Rob. Clever. Appreciate you.
I'm sad I didn't come
Perfect.
up with that.
That's great.
Glad you caught up for us.
Yes.
So that's good.
So after they did their run,
Mm-hmm.
another comic company, Blackthorn Comics, did it. They did 3 issues of a 3D comic in 87
Wasn't that
and
like
88.
it was super rare because
Yeah.
it was just like, I don't even remember.
And I only got 2 of the covers. The third one, the one image I could find, was so horrible I didn't even want to try to post it. It was just too blurry.
Yeah, that was
Was it just like a holographic cover?
They were just they
Like
were
they did
The
with
whole
DC
comic
for
was
a while?
3D,
3D. You had to wear
because
the
it
red
came
and
with
blue
3D
glasses.
Oh, did you do-
the
oh,
red and
that's
blue glasses
awesome.
where you could read the whole thing.
I bet one of those sealed would be like $1 million or something like that.
I don't know.
That's the problem with Star Wars. Some things are super valuable
Yeah.
because they were limited, rare, Yak Face and other the Sears Star Wars figures originally because they were mail order only, stuff like that. So some of those goes very valuable. But the problem is everybody in the world had them. Everybody in the world had
That's a good point.
everything.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point.
there are millions of them out there. So it's very hit or miss. And the comics were the same way. That original first few issues for a long time weren't worth anything because everybody had them. Now only because time has passed.
Kind of like baseball cards.
Exactly, that they're finally
Yeah.
getting down there. But if you got like an obscure issue because
So-
it didn't sell as well, those are actually worth more money.
Rob said he found one on Amazon for $20.
Yeah.
Oh.
See?
I might have to buy that just
Yeah,
to see it.
yeah.
And
I
that's
kind of
it,
want to
but that's
just
a
be
good
like,
little,
yeah.
and that's a good price
Yeah.
range for nostalgias,
Yeah.
that $20 to $50 range. So you're buying something obscure, but still having
Yeah.
something nice.
Mm-hmm.
So from 88, we didn't have any more comics till 91 when Dark Horse Comics
Yes.
got hold of them, and they
feel like that's the
changed
best
whole
run.
thing completely.
And again, they didn't care for the books, so they made their own continuity.
The books were so great.
Yeah, exactly. But they went a different route with it. Although they
I
did
guess.
team up and do Thrawn later and
Yeah.
adapted the Thrawn trilogy. But again, they had a different approach to, they brought the Emperor back as a clone. And then they made Luke as a clone. And they had all these other, stories that came out. But there's where your Sith history really shows up. So.
That's why I like Dark Horse a lot, because they went into that. And I believe they did the first run of Darth Vader comics, right?
They did Dark Empire, which
Dark
just
Empire?
popped up.
Yeah.
That was probably the closest to that.
Well, they did. Someone did adjust a Darth Vader.
That was Marvel.
I know it was
when
Marvel. I
took
know
over,
Marvel
yeah.
did it. I thought maybe Dark Horse did it. Probably not.
I don't
But-
recall that, but it might have happened.
I could be wrong.
I'm not that my knowledge fades in around the early '90s. For
I feel like
comics,
they
so.
did. I could be wrong. I just know that I have a lot of them. Like I have a lot
there
of
you go.
Darth Vader comics, and then I have a lot of Darth Maul comics, and then I have a lot of like the weird in between things they did. I never personally got into like, well, retelling the story again in comic form. I'm like, yeah, that's great. I understand this.
So
but
they did it from 91 till 2014, 100 Star Wars titles through that
So they
time,
probably did some
including manga adaptation of the original trilogy
I remember
films
that.
and the 99 prequel Phantom Menace they did too. So they had a good run doing it. Then no comics for a little while longer.
Yep.
Disney decides, hey, we're going to buy Marvel, we're going to buy Lucas. And then in 2015, they went ahead and released Marvel again, owning it, redoing the comics.
And they've done some amazing stories.
They have.
Their Darth Vader run they initially did
Yeah.
was insanely awesome. It gave us a taste of what would happen in Rogue One later on. There's a scene where Vader's down and he's surrounded by thousands of rebels, and he's like, they're like, what are you gonna do? And he's like, well, they're like, what? He's like, why? And he's like, they're like, surrender. And he's like, why? All I see is dead men.
yeah.
And it was the ultimate.
Then we see
Oh,
there, 2017 IDW Publishing went ahead and started relaunching them as well. And those they're geared more for kids.
They're more
there.
kids. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
that's the,
IDW does.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, IDW does a lot of everything, so it's cool that they picked up the Adventures line. So because they do a lot of kids runs too, so that's good.
Yeah, that's my point. They do.
There's your
They do
boy.
kids.
The
I
goofy
know.
looking one.
What does John Oliver say? That Adam Driver can do whatever he wants.
Yes, whatever.
Whatever
so.
he wants.
But yeah, so it's man, what a crazy road.
Yeah.
For the
Marvel
comics.
starts off with it. They got rid of it and they got it back again.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, what was it? They first got it, and they didn't. They paid pennies for it. I think at the time, but then
Which at the first run they did really well. That's a thing.
And and that's because of that. The guy who renegotiated the contract, they were like, I think it was like one of their top sellers.
Yeah, because
For-
of how well it sold, he was able to get more money for it.
Yeah, and that I'm sure stung.
There's
Marvel a little
always
bit, but-
like the controversy where people are like, oh, some people have the idea when Disney bought, merged those companies together. They're like, oh, well, they destroyed it. They saved it. Did they do the best thing possible? But Marvel Comics for a while wasn't making the best choices on their
Oh, no,
own
they were
either.
about dead. They were. That's why they
Killing
started
your
selling,
Captain America,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Well,
You
that's
know
why
what
they
I
started
mean?
selling the character rights off. Was
Yeah.
because they were bankrupt. So
It's sad for me because they, like you said, like they did a great first run, and then Marvel's like, well, we can do anything, and it's like Disney does have control over Marvel, but like Disney's also like, we don't make comics, you know what you're doing, and Marvel's like, yes, and then they're like, oh wait,
yeah,
we bade these kids, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's always, I'm hoping that in the new iteration with the new movies and the new thing that they're doing, that better comics will be coming out. But I think their lines so far with the new structuring have been pretty
They've been
solid.
pretty solid.
They've been pretty
the new-
solid,
they're
and that's
pretty
all I can
popular.
ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want my franchise to die. So
I don't think he'll ever will die.
No.
With Disney running it now.
no.
Well,
That's a good
they're
thing.
talking about going back to one movie a year again.
I think that's smart.
I think they need to make sure there's solid content.
Yes,
every
they
year.
need to slow down, and they need to make. I understand why they were like boom, 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 but with the parks now out, and you have Taika now on the new one, which we're fans no matter what. We're
Taika
just gonna,
Waititi direct a new Star Wars
no matter
movie.
what.
I'm down.
But they also did, they Star Wars evolved even from that too. They did video games before, and even though EA
The games are getting better.
the games are getting better,
They're-
even though
again,
EA
it
is
took a while.
helping them with it, they're getting better.
Rumors are BioWare's back on Knights of the Old Republic
Oh, that'd
again.
be so
I would
good.
be.
That would be,
I'd be very happy
take
with
my
that.
money.
That would be
Take my
very
money at
happy.
that point, yeah. Yeah.
Then there's what's the other? Well, now that Mandalorian 2's moving in, they're bringing
Yeah.
in
And
characters from the cartoons and the comics.
And that's a great
And-
franchise that they brought. They're doing the Obi-Wan. They had to restart that because I think
Yeah.
there was a difference in different views in writing,
Yeah,
I
it's-
believe.
And
They're doing the Darth Maul.
They're talking about the original actors coming back too.
I
Yeah.
think that would be fantastic.
be
That's what
crazy.
Hayden
everyone.
Christensen coming back for his role.
Yeah.
Darth Maul, if you're out there.
Ray Park? Yeah, I'm
Ray
sure
Park,
he
probably would
still
do it.
kicks ass.
Exactly. There was a YouTube video or something about him, and he's like, all right, and he like went out and got his lightsaber and he like did his thing, and it was just like he had made the movie yesterday. He still has it. Like that's what's really cool too.
He didn't even audition for the part. That's
He
it.
didn't?
No, he was
He was
That's
a
something
stunt
I did
double.
not
He was a stunt
know.
double.
He was a stunt double. He
Was it
choreographed the
Han?
lightsaber fight.
Now, the guy
no,
who
that was
does
with
his
Indiana
voice, the guy who does Darth Maul's voice, is another comic book wonderful connection, Peter Serafinowicz, the Tick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
He did the voice for Darth Maul because
Yeah.
he's got that deep.
He thought deep,
Movie
yeah.
voice.
And that's funny
At
because
last, we will reveal
most of the
ourselves to
movies
Jedi.
that Darth Maul played in, he didn't talk in most of those movies
Yeah.
Yeah.
because he was an actor.
Yeah.
He
Yep.
was a fighter.
He's a
Because Darth
fighter.
Maul does not talk in that movie. I mean, he maybe
has, like,
says
2
one
lines,
thing.
yeah.
He just menacingly
Even in the
that's all he
X-Men
needs
movie,
to
I think
do.
he said one word.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
the-
doesn't. He
He had
doesn't.
one line.
He doesn't need to
There's
say anything.
was the one movie I love. If you're a Star Wars junkie, another fun, obscure one that you might want to watch is called Fanboys.
Yes.
And a great movie. Ernie Klein, who wrote Ready Player One, the original book, it was his first movie, and it's about kids. One of them's sick and has cancer,
And he wants to
but
see-
he wants to see Phantom Menace before it comes out. And so there was a time when there wasn't a Star Wars movie every year, guys. It just happened. And it was at the same time when there was no Doctor Who as well. So it was a dark time for us nerds. It was
there was
dark
a lot
times
of cameos
before the
in that.
Empire.
You had William Shatner in there.
Well, that was just it was Ready Player One before Ready
Yeah.
Player One. So it's these guys going on this cross country road trip to break into Skywalker Ranch and see
Oh, okay.
Phantom
You
Menace.
told- yeah, okay.
And when they get to Skywalker Ranch, the security team breaks out, and they're all in the THX 1138 outfits, which was Lucas's first movie. But one of the security guards is Ray Park. And the kid comes up and he's like,
I'm learning
and he's
things.
like, that's Comics 101.
Comic 101.
We're teaching things. And he has a great line in it where he's, the guy's like, oh gosh, what are you gonna do? And he's like, you're about to get mauled, boy. And he pulls out the twin stick. He pulls out 2 nightsticks.
You're about
and
to
does
get
his bit.
mold. I'm using that for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Oh, if you want to see
It's a
some.
great
Oh, that's.
Have you not seen it?
No.
With that
I
movie
have it
night.
on DVD. I'll
Movie
bring it
night.
over.
Yeah,
Movie night.
Mark has like this list of like, because I am. What was the first '80s movie you showed me? Was it Crawl?
Crawl.
Crawl the car.
I
I
started
know
with
this.
Flash
I know
Gordon.
this is a thing. I'd already seen Flash Gordon
Yeah,
though.
but you had seen
But
it.
Crawl, so like that, I was like, oh, this is like a whole thing that I never even got into. So yeah, we'll have to put that on the
80s
list.
fantasy, and then we
Oh,
did,
yeah, I'm all in about it.
Sure, Beastmasters?
we did Space Mutiny
we didn't do
because of
Beastmaster.
Rift
We did.
we did Rift Tracks.
We did Rift Track Space
Yeah.
Mutiny, but we did Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, I
we
love
did-
that so much too.
We did Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, and so we've been working our way down the list. It's a limited time.
Yeah.
We're writing books. We're traveling. We're filming a TV.
I'm yelling at
3
you to
TV
write the
shows now.
books. Yeah.
Yeah. How many TV shows you got?
I'm sleeping half of the time.
Drop
yeah.
out of college, kids. You don't need it. You get 3 TV shows. You get
Do not listen
best-selling
to
books.
anything that he says.
So we rabbit
waste of
trailed a
time.
little.
No.
Let's
Yes.
go ahead and the first movie, 1977, A New Hope.
Yes.
Yes.
That was just called Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah.
They didn't
There
add
was
A New
some-
Hope till the
But there was some name changes, which I think is important. So it was Star Wars, then they added New Hope, and then the second one, which is actually the
Empire Strikes Back.
yes.
Yes, Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
I'm cueing you. You
I
got
like,
me.
I like Greedo with the straw there so he could drink.
Yeah.
And Han shot first. We can all
Yes.
just say that. Yes.
You got to think about that
Despite
makeup back
special
then.
editions.
Those people were.
Oh man, this is insane.
Tortured, yeah.
This is what got a lot of people into makeup. Our wonderful friend Ed Edmonds from Distortions, he became a mask maker because of seeing the Cantina scene.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and now he's one of the greatest mask makers in the world. And then, and like I said, you saw stuff like this. This was never done before this. I mean, you had 2001, Space Odyssey, you had Logan's Run. They had some sets. Maybe Planet of the Apes was the first one to really make a
Yeah.
blockbuster
It's
kind of
cool
other
seeing the
world.
sets now, how they did it, how small they were, and in the asteroid belt, there was a baked potato floating
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
there.
exactly. There was always little things that they, a lot of the Star Wars, the Death Star trench and some of the ships were actually model kits from old World War II model kits. They would cut and put the pieces in
Yeah.
to make.
I just like the
trench
guy with the
pieces.
ice cream maker. Yeah. I forgot what movie it's from. I'm horrible for not remembering it, but he's just running around with that ice cube, like ice cube,
Yeah.
ice cream maker. And then in Mandalorian, when they open it up to give him like the credits or whatever, like
Yeah.
it's a replica of the ice cream maker.
The ice cream maker.
Because
Yep.
there's people that go around cons and they dress
Yep.
up like
Yeah.
that guy, and they're like,
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
It's, man, we're talking about Mandalorian now.
Full of Easter eggs.
Full of Easter eggs to the original
Yeah.
trilogy and stuff. And they even brought back a lot of the original props.
And the props that were like in the original movies, and that even in itself, like you found out that 1, 2, or 3 are actually 4, 5, and 6. You
Yeah.
know, they
Yeah,
tell you
yeah.
that at the end. But Mandalorian did a lot with that too. Like the weapons that you would only like see them, they're actually being used in Mandalorian and things like that. You know, or there's things that they've mentioned, and
Yeah.
then they're actually putting them to practice in that too. So
Well, I think what the
Star Wars is like
prequels
that.
came from a throwaway line in the first one. It was,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
years ago, you served my father in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
It was that simple.
Clone Wars? And all of his
Yeah.
kids were like,
What?
all of his kids were like, there were wars with clones? What the heck
Yeah.
is this? And so we
wait, kids,
imagine
you'll
that.
get another movie about
We imagined that. And
a
that was the
TV
problem
show.
is we imagined it so much. And then when the prequels
Yeah.
come out, we're all like, that's not how I imagined it.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be
They're like,
bigger,
don't worry,
better.
we have a cartoon for this. And you're like, yes, this is how I imagined
Yeah,
it.
that was, and can we make the Gendy Tartakovsky Clone Wars canon too, please? If anything, those were awesome.
But
So-
I think that's, again, that ties back to it. That's what's so great about Star Wars. It's like the one thing that you love eventually gets developed into something that's huge.
And I got to say, it was kind of cool that they made it Legends,
Yeah.
because that makes it so. Is it true? Isn't it? Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Well, when you go to Galaxy's Edge and you go to it's kind of, again, I'm really bad right now. They have like that artifact shop, basically.
Yeah.
So
I
like if
haven't
you
been there
want
yet.
anything Sith or like old Jedi, you go there. And so they all talk to you like you're, you know, they're like, here's your credits back, and you have like an ID, like for your Disney Pass and stuff. But they do a really good job. They're like, oh, if anything, if it's like a legend, it's going to be in the shop. It's basically an antique shop. So they even carry that on into that universe because, again, it's not gone. It's not erased. But was it the way that you thought it was? Like,
I mean, the only thing that changes from the Thrawn trilogy
Yeah.
is Leia and Han having twins. As
That's
really
true.
the only thing that everything else could be canon from the series.
Yeah.
So, and when they brought Thrawn back, because now he is the new series, you know, it's so they brought back 90% of
Yeah.
those trilogies as canon again in the first just chapter, and that's Tim Zahn just going, haha, Disney, I'm bringing it back.
he's such a great guy.
Yeah.
So have you heard what they're doing with the hotel?
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah.
sounds amazing.
You
Like the
think you're-
ultimate
It's so
RP
expensive.
experience.
You think you're a Vacation Club girl ain't
Yeah.
already on that list.
Yeah. That's
The whole role-playing hotel for
Yes.
the weekend.
You're going on a cruise in his office. It's a Hitchhiker's Guide to the
It's cruise
Galaxy
in,
throwaway
yeah.
line. There was a bit where a guy, they're like, the secretary's answering a phone at a publishing company. She's
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm sorry, he's on an intergalactic cruise. No, yes, he is in his office, but he's on an intergalactic cruise. You know, but
Yeah.
he'll call you later. And that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be, I'm on a cruise. I'm in a hotel, but I'm on a
Yeah.
cruise.
Well, they do have an actual Star Wars cruise, and
That's
if you
true,
do,
but-
if you do take the cruise, they actually have like this special bus that they're going to do. That's going to be like a space shuttle that's going to take you. But I think it takes anyone in the space shuttle anyway to the hotel, so it like takes
Yeah.
you and you're fully immersed. And I think you only can do it for what, 2 days, 3 days?
It's 3 days, I
It's
think.
2 nights, 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
2 nights, 2 days.
But they
And
do
you-
already a good
And you are
job.
immersed the
And
whole
it's-
time.
Yeah, and they do a good job in
Per
the park
person
already.
too.
Yes,
So if you have
it's-
4 people in a room, you're paying $1,200 each per person per night.
But you're immersed. It's a whole nother galaxy. It's
Exactly,
exactly
like
what
those
everybody
shots,
wants. It's what everybody wants Galaxy's Edge to be. I have they said you're allowed to dress up for this one yet or not?
I haven't heard yet.
I know people have. There are guidelines on how to cosplay.
I think you're
For
allowed.
that,
I
You
think
can't.
you
You can't have masks.
Yeah, mask
And
would
you can't
probably
have
not
like
allow.
any weapons or lightsabers if you're over 12.
Okay.
That's how they have it in the theme park.
Yeah. So it'd be
I know.
fun.
I have my double Darth Maul one. I know. I just can't read
So I
it.
can still do my stormtrooper and just carry my helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
My
think.
kilted
Just say
trooper,
'cause you don't kill
stormtrooper.
12.
See,
but
there
yeah,
you
that
go.
works, yeah.
There you go. They were. There was a couple costume makers who actually went to the parks and tried to dress up as close as they could. They made their own credits.
Mm-hmm.
They made all their stuff, and they actually got when they walked in. They said, "No, you got to go back around to the employee entrance." They're like, "No, we're
Yeah,
not
they-
employees."
yeah.
and so they had to bring out somebody to. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And they accepted that for a while, but then they're like, oh, we don't want guests thinking that you're actually, and then there's a
Yeah.
miscommunication.
So now they've
and
got very
unfortunately-
strict rules
Yeah.
online on you can still cosplay, but
Yeah.
it's very strict on how you do it. So.
Yeah, because they don't want people stopping you and taking pictures.
Yeah,
of you
saying,
and
hey,
that
look,
thing.
it's Chewy. No.
Yeah.
That's
a friend of mine
Why is that
dresses up and
Chewy
goes there a
weigh
lot.
like 12 pounds?
But then they
and that
also
one's over
can't
there?
like
So-
protect you if someone's like, oh, I'm gonna, you know,
Yeah.
we're gonna get in, you know. But it is already interactive there, and I think the hotel, because people like, oh, the price tag, which you're right, it is a huge price tag, but you have to pay those actors. To pay those insurance for those actors.
If Universal
you know
did
what I
this
mean?
as like go to stay at Hogwarts for a week, people would pay
people would pay no
Yeah.
the
problem.
same thing. And I think this is where it's going. I mean,
It's probably
there's been
gonna
a
go that
few
way, yeah.
future parks that have done some role-playing immersion and stuff. I think that is the future of the theme park.
Well, with
hotels.
VR and stuff, too, you could always add that. Yeah,
That
it's gonna be
Void
great.
experience downtown Disney, I can't wait to try that with the Star Wars
gonna be
one.
great.
Hey, if K2SO is ordering me around, I'm in.
You want to wrap this up? What's your final thoughts?
No, keep going.
Oh, I thought
Giving
we
you
were
a
getting close.
chance.
I was getting a clue here. that
Giving
we
you
were
a
getting-
chance.
No, I think that the timer is wrong. So
All right.
let's go with the other movies real
Mm-hmm.
quick because we still have that. Empire Strikes Back in 1980 came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I waited in line days for that. That was back in the
Days?
days
Really?
when you had.
That's when you had to
You
wait
had
in
to
line
wait
for
that
movies.
one. I lived.
There was no pre-ordering
in,
tickets.
This was in the dark times when I was in West Virginia, and a
Literally
nerd in
dark.
West Virginia was very rare.
No lights there.
And there were only 2 theaters in the capital, Charleston. So I had to wait in line, and me and a couple friends, we camped out. My dad let us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were 10. Can you imagine camping out downtown in a big city nowadays?
They wouldn't
No.
let you do
Yeah.
that now.
No, but we were the only ones that we were actually still 5th in line. I was
Wow.
mad.
So another fun fact, do you know why they actually froze Solo and Carbonite? The whole reasoning behind it?
Well, I know he wanted out of the movies.
Yeah.
So
because
they were
they
gonna
did,
kill him
everybody else signed a 3-year contract, 3-movie contract,
Yeah, but-
except him.
Yeah.
And he didn't think he would come back, so that was his
He
way
just
of.
wanted to do Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
He
his
was
way of
literally
getting
just
out of the
wanted to do
movie.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Well, he didn't think it was going to be that big of a thing, and then it just, and there it was.
So then we get Return Jedi in 83.
Where I feel it started going downhill. So
See, that's what got me into it. The little
I know.
Ewoks. I love the Ewoks.
See, that is
No.
all I wanted Mace Windu to say in the prequels was, I don't care how good you say they are, I ain't fighting alongside no F-ass teddy bears.
So do you know who was supposed to originally be a midget in the movie? Here's-
Oh, it was well, I know originally it was supposed to be Wookiees,
No, but
but
no,
they
the first movie,
got so sophisticated they turned him into the
first
little Ewoks.
movie, it was actually supposed to be Luke Skywalker.
Oh yeah, he was supposed to
be a
be
midget. The whole joke, you're a little short to be a stormtrooper,
Stormtrooper?
was because he was supposed to be a midget.
Yeah, and they instead Kenny Baker got
I'm just like
because he was the one who could
thinking.
fit in the robot.
Yeah.
I'm like, how would that have worked going on in the series?
It would have been a cute joke. Again, it was also
would
he was
have
also
been-
Luke Starkiller in that script,
Oh,
and
yeah, I remember
it was
that.
a completely different. There were a lot of different things in that script. A lot of stuff that wound up in Empire. If you look at Ralph
Mm-hmm.
McQuarrie's paintings from the
Yeah.
original script, Darth Vader and Luke are having this fight in these lit corridors, and stormtroopers are running around these lit corridors, and they look like Bespin. And this is actually what they used for Bespin.
Speaking of scripts and things that aren't in there, do you know why Jar Jar Binks is actually important?
A lot of reasons, but
Yes, there's a lot. Do you, Michael? Do you know?
No.
Do you know? Okay. Someone's probably going to call me out on this. I don't remember.
that's,
but
okay,
in the
that's
script,
what the internet is for.
yes, so I'm fine with it.
Put those comments below.
In the script, I don't know if it was like the first draft or whatever, but it was actually written out. He wrote it out. The Emperor at the end of the movie is supposed to walk with him, and basically he tells Jar Jar, like, I am Palpatine, and I'm letting you know this because you've worked so hard to get me here. And I'm letting you know that I'm not going to destroy Naboo because of that, but you're like the only one that knows right now, and you have to help me in the Senate, otherwise your whole entire, everything
I
you've
think he
done
kinda
is
plays
going to
that
be...
in the second
He
one.
does, but like it was very, like that you saw them walk together, like it was very direct.
I-
It was like, and George was like, oh man, like what have I done? And he was basically, because he is very pivotal. And he got a lot of hate because he was,
Yeah, there was-
the actor is amazing. I want
let's
to do
just
that.
we can
Actor's
all
great.
freely agree that Lucas is not the best at writing
No,
dialogue.
but that's not the actor's
Which is why
fault.
Empire was written by Larry Kasdan.
Yes.
You know, Jedi was written by.
But they had him in such
forget.
like an actual pivotal, like important thing, and then they turned him into such like, oh, well, we can't do that. So they
As-
just turned him into more like, oh, I'm gonna be a jovial, but he's
So,
why the Emperor
Quick
got where he
question,
was.
what's your favorite Easter egg in any of the movies?
My favorite? Oh man.
Mine is E.T. in Phantom Menace.
E.T. and Phantom Menace is cute. It is cute. I gotta say, my actual favorite Easter egg is a Star Wars Easter egg in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
When they lift up the Ark in the hieroglyphics.
R2D2 and
is R2D2 and
C3PO on there.
C3PO.
I'm sticking with the ice cream maker. That to
pretty
me,
fun.
I was like, ah, like that.
That
was
is pretty fun. I like that
I like the Rogue Ones though a lot too.
Yeah, they did a lot of fun.
When they did all the Phoenix, like the Phoenix, the ship.
I liked Rogue One for
Chopper.
when they brought back all the pilots, and it was just unused
Yes.
footage from the first movies.
I loved that
that was
too.
my thing. Was man, when I growing up, that was memorizing all the pilots.
Yeah. You still
Gold
do that.
Leader, was Dutch, and Pops, and all these
Yeah.
things. And I only knew them because of the stupid cards on the back of the action figures.
Yeah.
That was before the expanded universe, and then the trading card game came out, and then it had them all there, and I was like, I did remember these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And but that was for me was kind of a big deal was when they brought them back in Rogue One. I think that's why I like that one so much. Yeah, my ranking will go Star Wars. I still refuse to call it New Hope. Then Empire.
Oh, we're doing rankings.
Then Rogue One.
Yeah.
Then Jedi. Mm-hmm. And now here's where we start getting the controversy here.
I
You
know.
ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready to fight. No.
Then Last Jedi. Then Force Awakens.
Oh.
Then Attack of the Clones, which doesn't suck as bad as I thought. It's still pretty crappy. We're in total suck fest now. Then Rise of Skywalker.
Everyone
I'm
turns
sorry.
off. Everyone turns off.
Sorry, it was terrible, and because it was just checking boxes. And then I can only get through it with the riff tracks now. And then thank God that just came out. And then everything else. I remember, Revenge of the Sith.
You're like, I don't even acknowledge
I don't
it.
even
Oh,
acknowledge
man.
it.
So we
Phantom
got-
Menace is at the bottom.
We got a minute
Only
left.
the holiday special underneath, which we will introduce you to the pain of that
Yes.
come Thanksgiving.
What's your top one? Just say top.
Top, Empire Strikes Back.
Rogue One. Done.
So,
Wrap us up.
again, if you want to message us, be a guest on the show, cosplay of the week, email us, home@comicbook101tv.com, info@comicbook101tv.com. Again, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, comicbooktv101. And we can find you where, Mark?
ErieFlorida.com, and Elizabeth's stuff's up there
I'm
too,
there
so
too.
for her jewelry and everything.
Do we want to tease next week?
Yeah, let's give a little tease. We got 30 seconds.
Yep, we're going back to root Comic Books 101 teaching like we kind of tried to do today. But this is more of like a geek out. We're going to go to Batman. We're looking for Batman cosplay. If you want to submit one of your favorite story arcs, we'll be talking about ours. So you can be
We'll
looking forward to
be
that next
reaching out,
Thursday at 7.
And we'll be talking to any cosplayers want to talk, any artists
All right,
want to
here
talk.
we go. We got 3 seconds left,
3.
so it's been great. We'll see y'all next week.
See you on the other side. Excelsior.